Sonic unleashed the Unleashed Recompiled unofficial PC port on Steam Deck. So here I have it, it's installed, but I'm going to show you step by step how to get it set up on Steam Deck and how to get the best performance out of it. So to do this, we gotta go to Power and switch to desktop mode. So see you in desktop mode. Alright, so once on desktop mode, follow the link in the description to the GitHub repo. So here's all the explanation on how this was done. It's a lot of work. I'm blown away that this actually exists, but the requirements are pretty low. GT 630 or HD graphics 510. A lot of modern technology has been integrated into this, and there's Steam Deck support, so hats off to you. So Flatpak version, this is what we're looking for. So we go here into releases. They released this 13 hours ago, and since we're on Steam Deck, Flatpak, so we go to downloads, and this, you get this Flatpak. So let's extract it into the desktop to make it easier for us. Okay, it's in the desktop. We double click on it. It will open the Discover store, hit install, and you need to put your Steam Deck sudo password. Alright, so once this is installed, before launching, you need to make sure that you have the game files of the Xbox 360 version. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you how to get these files. You need your own Xbox 360 modded and dump the game files onto your PC. Otherwise, you need to sell the high seas, which is illegal, so keep that in mind. With that out of the way and all those files here, you can put them in the microSD card if you want to. After hitting launch and making sure you have all the necessary files, it will open this. You might need to open it a couple times. The first time it didn't launch for me. So we hit next. You need a 360 copy of Sonic Unleashed. That's not a problem, we have it. And I highly recommend you have the update and the DLC. So we add files. These files can be obtained from your 360 hard drive. So here we go, Sonic Unleashed. So we have the game. Then we need to add the update, so add files. We go now to Sonic Unleashed, title update 2. You have this weird file, hit open, and you have the update. Alright, so once you have the game and the update here, hit next. Alright, so for the DLC, this might take a little, so I'll hit add files and go individually to each DLC. So once you chose all the DLC from the files, hit next again. So now you have this, the content will be installed to the programs folder, required space 9 GB, available space 147. So if you have a microSD card, I highly recommend you install it there if you don't have enough space, for example on a 64 GB deck. So hit next. And now it's just a matter of waiting, so let's wait for a few seconds. That was quick, installation complete. This will take longer if you're on a microSD card. This project brought to you by HedgeDev, so thanks to HedgeDev for making this. GigaChad. We hit next, and this launches the game. So what I recommend doing right now is going through the intro and everything. Not the intro, but we're now inside the game. And just hit B to be able to go back and quit. So hit yes, because we're still in desktop mode. And now right after doing that, of course, we want to play the game in gaming mode. So we go into library, we hit add game, add a non-Steam game. Here there is an entire list, so we're going to type Unleashed, which is Unleashed Recompiled. It should be here because it's installed on Linux by a Flatpak. Add selected program. And I'm sorry, I have a lot of stuff here. Unleashed Recompiled, properties, and this is where it is installed. Alright, we're now back in gaming mode, so hit the Steam key, go to library, go all the way to non-Steam, and you have Unleashed Recompiled. In this case, I'm going to go into properties and rename this to Sonic Unleashed. Perfect. Also, if you like customizing your artwork, you can hit the Decky plugin and install SceneGridDB. This will add this option to change the artwork very easily, change artwork. And since we put Sonic Unleashed as the name, it's going to look it up. And once all that is done, this is the art that I chose. It will look just like a Steam game on your Steam Deck, and you have it like this. And it's just a matter of hitting play and the game will launch. So we hit play. Alright, so after launching the game, you'll be in the menu, hit options, and believe it or not, this is an actual PC port. I mean, they grabbed all that code and they added options. So this feels 100% like an official PC port, but it's unofficial. There's resolution scale, resolution options, full screen, VSync, FPS cap. Let's unlock it just for this part. But if you go above 60, there might be bugs. So you can read it behind me. There might be glitches. Anti-aliasing, you got none. MSIA, up to 8 times. Let's keep it at 4 times. More than this doesn't make any sense to me. Transparency, anti-aliasing, it even shows you the difference at the side. Shadow resolution, you can have it on original, 512, 1024, up to 8192. I think 4096 should be good enough. Hopefully we don't have to lower this. GI texture filtering, bilinear or bicubic. Let's keep it on bicubic. Motion blur, you have off, original, or an enhanced way to have a smoother motion blur. Let's keep it on enhanced. You can also use the Xbox color correction, that is a warmer tone. I'll disable it. And you can even have an unlocked aspect ratio for the cutscenes. So they're not 16:9, we're on 16:10, so we should be good. And you can also choose how the UI is displayed. So it has more options than many PC games out there. That's pretty insane. And before I forget, this is a non-Steam game, obviously. So in order to cap the frame rate to whatever you want, my advice is to first use a per game profile for Sonic Unleashed, allow tearing, and disable the frame limit. So you can choose your refresh rate. In this case, the capture card is 60 Hz, but put it like this, like I'm showing you right now, and enable VSync. So when you enable VSync here, it's just going to use it like on the Steam Deck. It's going to lock it to your refresh rate. Doesn't matter what you put on this menu. So if you're at 90 Hz, you can put it to 90 by just enabling VSync here, because this frame limit actually works, but the frame pacing seems to be weird. And the other thing that the developer recommends, the game seems to be CPU limited on Steam Deck. Well, that's not actually true. It seems to be a quirk on how the manual GPU clock, actually is set by itself. So he says to lock it to the highest GPU option available, in this case 1600 MHz, and we're now locked at 60. I'm going to show you unlock frame rates in a moment, but this should give you the best experience. We might even increase the settings later. But without this, in certain sections, especially nighttime, I had horrible performance drops like into the 30s and 40s. This completely fixed the problem, so make 100% sure that your GPU clock is capped to 1600 MHz to get the best visuals out of it. You might even do super sampling, actually. It is a perfect game for that sort of thing. But this completely fixes the FPS drops that I had. Which again, for an older game like this, shouldn't be a thing. This is not an emulated version of the game, obviously. This is basically was decompiled, then recompiled to be a PC port with the improvements. But this should give you the best experience, locking it to 60 to avoid glitches. And there we go. Now in the hub area, that I think it wasn't on the PS2 version. I played this on PS2 when I was a kid. I don't remember anything at all. So I think it's a good time to unlock the frame rate and see how it looks in the smaller screen. And even if I disable the frame limit, for some reason on full screen, it's still stuck to 90. But again, going above 60 will cause glitches. Yeah, it's not 100% perfect when talking 90s, actually. But hey, again, advice to avoid screen tearing, VSync on, it'll match the refresh rate, should be good enough. So let's try 90 FPS. Again, lock the GPU clock to 1600 like I showed you a second ago. But here it's hard locking to 60 pretty often actually. So maybe 90s is not a possibility. Yeah, I think we should lower actually the MSAA. Not entirely sure what could be the limitation. Again, this game was not designed to go anywhere above 60s, so that's probably one of the reasons why. Maybe it's an engine limitation. We're on a Steam Deck after all. So let's very quickly try that. So we go here, we lower MSAA to 2x, we disable transparency anti-aliasing, and we lower those shadow resolutions to see it in some way. Yeah, it still drops pretty hard. But again, as you can see, it's not using the entirety of Steam Deck, the Steam Deck hardware. The GPU is chilling at 37%, and the CPU is fine. So again, I think it's just that you need to brute force it with better hardware. Not entirely sure what the exact limitation is. But even if I drop some stuff, it still does it from time to time, especially in the nighttime missions that you have way more transparencies. But it's okay enough. Again, personally, to avoid issues, I'll just put it at 60. So we're going to do that in a moment. But it works fantastically well. It's just that at times it will drop below 90 for no apparent reason, unfortunately. And again, we're at 90 Hz, so let's make it work. The VSync option should make it match our refresh rate. There it goes. So the settings menu that I showed you, refresh rate to 60 without a frame limit, allow tearing, so the VSync from the game itself is running, and the GPU clock at 1600 MHz. Otherwise, the game drops frames like crazy. Seems to be an issue on how the Steam Deck handles, the APU handles the frequency of the GPU and the CPU. It does it automatically, but in this case, it doesn't seem to be doing it correctly. And this should give you a good amount of battery life, probably like 4 hours of battery at 6 FPS. And you also avoid all those glitches of an unlocked frame rate in a game like this, that was clearly designed with 6 FPS in mind. And this looks fantastic. Again, I missed super sharp games like in this era. Now everything is soft looking. Seeing a game so sharp, I really miss this era, honestly. When stuff looked nice and sharp. Again, MSAA, it's weird to see MSAA in an options menu, at least for me. And QuickTime events. That's something that I do not miss much though. QuickTime events, it's okay. But as you can see, it's completely fine at 60. The developer of this unofficial PC version, for some reason, is watching this video. First of all, huge fan, thank you for making this possible. And I would like to know why the game doesn't maintain 90s on the Steam Deck, despite not using all the resources. I did like he said in the GitHub repo to lock the GPU to 1600, but even with that, I still drop. So again, I'm not sure on the technical reason why, but it's still interesting. But the fact that this is now... it feels like an official PC port, basically. Blows my mind. There's a good amount of options in the menu, and you can unlock the frame rate if you want. But you can probably brute force it with better hardware. Okay, now the nighttime section, the first one. On this one, with the GPU not set to a manual 1600 MHz, yeah, I drop even further than this. But as you can see, in this part, it drops pretty damn hard in comparison. It drops into the upper 40s. So I'm not sure why this happens. Again, same as I was saying before, why it doesn't maintain 90s. But I tried absolutely everything. The best way that I found to make those drops less noticeable is to disable full screen, selecting 1152 by 720, which will give you the FSR option, the FSR1 option. I highly recommend you use this one if you want to control the sharpness, like this, keeping it like this, and instead of 4 times MSAA, 2 times. and that made it a little bit better. It looks a bit lower resolution, obviously. It's like 10% less pixels. But it made those drops less obvious. Instead of the 40s, it drops like into the upper 50s when there's effects like these on screen. You can also disable the transparency anti-aliasing. But I'm not entirely sure why that happens. I still think it's way better than an emulator. On the emulator, it was basically unplayable on Steam Deck, so that's something that you should keep in mind. Did the trick for me, but again, sometimes, especially when in higher God of War sections like this one, it likes to drop anyway. So I'm not sure how to fix it, but the daytime parts are completely fine. So if you guys know how I could improve this, I tried everything, apart from lowering the resolution. It's kind of a shame, but at the same time, I understand that it cannot be 100% perfect. Just the fact that we have a PC port of this is mind-blowing. But it definitely runs better than original hardware, that's for sure. I think the developer did a great job with this. I still don't know how the hell you could do this. We were talking about decompilations on N64 games, and out of the blue, this came out, which is from a 360 game, a few generations ahead. So that blows my mind. I never expected to see stuff like this. Hopefully this opens the door for Ninja Gaiden 2. If Ninja Gaiden 2 gets this treatment, it will be amazing. But again, I don't know why we get these drops. It happens even with the GPU locked to 1600 MHz. But if you don't mind this, which I don't think is a huge deal, it's not like the game slows down, you should be good. Again, nighttime is the big problem, I would say. So what are my thoughts on this? Well, first of all, again, I'm blown away that this actually exists. This game, I don't have nostalgia for it. I played it on PlayStation 2 and it feels a bit different. I don't remember much about the PS2 version. What I do remember is that there was an emo Sonic and a daytime Sonic, basically. But I don't remember anything at all. This should be the best version of the game, I guess, when it comes to visuals and features. I don't remember the hub area being on the PS2 version. But again, very, very little memories out of it. So I'm not blinded by nostalgia on this one. I don't even know the performance on the 360 version, so take that as you will. But it's weird to see a Sonic game where I'm not running at 1000 miles per hour. At least in the night sections. This feels more like God of War in this part. And again, if you lock it to 60, I think it's good enough. It has drops in nighttime in these sections, but in the fast-paced parts, it's okay. Just make sure to lock the GPU to 1600 MHz and 2x MSIA. And the transparency and the aliasing, if you want to lower it, doesn't seem to make much of a difference for me. When it comes to performance, it's optional. But it's a great PC port so far. When it comes to options, at least, it has more options than many PC games. Which is saying something. The person that made this really does care. So again, if you're the developer of this, please, if you, for some reason, are watching this video, first of all, I highly appreciate the work that you're doing to preserve this game. And second of all, is there any technical reason that you could explain on why it drops frames like this, despite not using the entirety of the Steam Deck? Is it an engine issue, something to do with how it's rendering? I have no idea. If you're here, I would love to know that in the comments. But other than that, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Just play it at 60 and you should be good to go. I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys. Thanks for watching.